Now, when you speak of federal investment, you're speaking of federal laboratories doing the work.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about actually having new federal programs that would invest in a broader range of pre-commercial activities.
You mean with investing in companies?
Well, through grants that would be investing in projects of companies. I mean, the way that the government invests now is the company proposes a specific R&D project, and it's all spelled out, and then that's the subject of the grant. It would really only be making a slight change that some portion of that portfolio would be defined toward making investments that are a little bit closer to commercialization, and then kind of advancing up the continuum of prototyping and scale-up. For example,
doesn't that leave the government a target for criticisms that it's picking winners and losers again? Isn't that the basic objection? As opposed to when they do their own work in federal labs.
Well, I mean, the work that the federal laboratories do internally is very, very important, but it is not what is growing the economy. I mean, you can't underestimate the role of the private sector in taking the research and commercializing it and creating an ongoing business, and that's obviously where the job growth comes from.
Sure.
So I personally, as long as everything is merit-based and competitive, I don't think that this expands or creates any stronger criticism that this is somehow picking winners and losers than anything the government's already doing.
I see. Well, it's a very fine line that has to be walked here. That's what stands out. Do you think?
Yes,
I mean, the government I was just going to say the government has to facilitate this, but it can't be in a position of making direct investments in firms in a sense of picking winners and losers.
The government already does a lot of things that result in picking winners and losers, so I think that's a little bit simplistic. I mean, it has to be done according to easily understood criteria, and it has to not discriminate in favor of, a particular type of company or class.
Sure.
I mean, what I think is that the program portfolio that the federal government pursues should really create incentives for the private sector to invest, should be technology neutral in the sense that, for example, if the government says, I want to invest in any kind of vehicle technology that can result in a 100 mile per gallon or equivalent car, then that kind of a challenge, that kind of a grant-making program, and that kind of investment strategy would be the most effective, because it then unleashes the competitive aspects of the private sector. It doesn't favor one technology approach over another. What the government has tended to do very poorly is to say, something that's more restrictive. I want to support electric vehicles, for example. And I think that's where you get into the possibility that there's legitimate criticism that you're picking winners and losers, because you're saying, okay, you must accomplish goal A by delivering a specific technology, as opposed to saying accomplish goal A any way you can.
Sure.
And we want to support that.
Yeah, that was the problem with supporting ethanol, I suppose.
Yes, I think that's a really good example of bad policy. Right.
Although the EPA says that ethanol really is a net benefit after considering all of the costs and benefits. So I think the problem with ethanol may be exaggerated in the negative sense. Okay, well let's move on. This has been a wonderful discussion from an insider about the processes by which the feds can best encourage innovation in the country. Thank you, Kelly. That was really wonderful.